Hello everyone and welcome back to Nate the Hoof Guy. On today's video, we're going to dig into the topic of digital dermatitis. Now you've seen it a lot on this channel when it comes to lesions infecting the sole of the foot underneath some loose horn. But that's not the typical manifestation that we see with digital dermatitis. In fact, this is the location where we typically see it, right in that interdigital cleft area in the heel of the foot. That's why it's gotten the nickname hairy heel wart. These are pretty easy to treat. You've seen this on the channel a couple of times, and I'm going to go over it here once again and show you the results of that treatment with this foot. I've got this lesion here right above the inside claw on this foot. I'm going to clean it really well with chlorhexidine, and then I'm going to take the gauze and I'm going to clean that area off extremely well. Get all the debris away from that and the biofilm from those bacteria away from that so I can apply my treatment and knock it down. Clean that up really well. I'm going to apply salicylic acid powder to take some of the pain away from that lesion, and then I'm going to add a copper sulfate and salicylic acid paste over the top to really get a good kill on that. And then I'll show you the results when I'm done here. You'll notice the sensitivity that these lesions have just from me cleaning it and why they become such a problem for cows. A side note on this particular foot, you'll also notice some redness around that white line and in the sole of that foot. That's due to an episode of laminitis that she had in the past. That's not something that I'm going to remove. That's just a layer of hoof that's going to be a little bit compromised due to that laminitis, due to that bleeding into that sole. There's nothing we can do about that. It's better than not having that sole there at all. So we just leave it be. Now here we are with that same foot about 4 months later on her next trim. A lot of the dermatitis that I treat, I don't bring back right away because usually these treatments tend to be successful. You can see it's all completely healed in now, a little bit of erosion toward the heel, but that lesion itself is completely gone and healed up and we've got good skin there now. This next one, however, is a different situation. This is definitely not going to be cleared up in one trim, so we're going to go over that now. So what we have here is a different manifestation of those same bacteria at work. And basically what we get is we got these tendril-like appendages that are growing off of this thickened lesion. Now, one of the theories behind how this happens or why this lesion tends to form this way is that the foot bath chemicals were mixed at too high a concentration. And what ends up happening then is that we end up with a calloused situation that forms from these lesions that doesn't necessarily kill all the bacteria that become trapped inside it, which is actually a perfect environment for these bacteria that cause digital dermatitis to flourish in an anaerobic environment. So what happens? That lesion continues to grow, continues to thicken, and as you see, as we remove these tendrils, we've got an active lesion up underneath that. So what I'm doing here, by removing these tendrils, is exposing that lesion. And now what I'm going to do is clean this all up like I've done before, treat it with my copper sulfate paste to really knock that lesion down, and then we're going to come back within a couple weeks and we're going to once again trim off that calloused area and expose more of this active lesion. I'm going to continue to do that until this lesion is gone. So here we are 2 weeks later, and the one thing to look at here is how much more of this lesion I'm able to remove now after that treatment. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Why not just cut this lesion off on day one and be done with it? Why mess around with all these treatments? The reason I don't do that is because cutting a live lesion like that creates or causes profuse bleeding. And ultimately, any product that I put on after that is just going to get washed away. Then what happens, or what could happen, is we get a different type of infection, most notably foul or foot rot in the foot, which can end up proving fatal to the cow over time. We don't want to do that. The best thing we can do is to try to create a situation where we kill the majority of this lesion and harmlessly cut it away without any bleeding. This way, I can create or put on more treatment that's going to continue to kill that active lesion and ultimately heal this thing up. So from this angle, you can get a better look at that lesion. You can see how much of it I've removed from that first trim, and you can see there is still active lesion up underneath there, but that's pretty much expected with something of this size. So I'm going to keep trimming around those edges, get this just the way I want it, treat it once again, and likely we're going to have to keep doing that with this lesion several more times until it's healed. Just a little side note, if you enjoyed that portion of the video where I was trimming those tendrils with the scissors, there's a couple more of those coming up at the end of this video. So what's the best way to keep digital dermatitis at a minimum? Well, that's the use of a foot bath. I'm going to show you now how that works. On most dairies, cows are going to end up getting milked in a parlor much like this one. After a few minutes, when they're done milking, they're going to exit the milking parlor and they're going to walk down a return lane. This is a lane that takes them back to their pens. In that, we've got a foot bath set up. This has got a copper sulfate solution in this one. There's different products that run in different types of setups, but this is a copper sulfate solution. The cows are going to walk through this, and that foot bath chemical is going to soak into the hair and stuff on their foot, and it's going to help kill those bacteria in and around that digital cleft area, which is where a lot of these lesions end up beginning to form. After they do that, they're going to end up then walking back to their pen and going about their business. It just becomes part of the routine. This foot bath is run a couple days a week, and that's the best way to keep these bacteria at a minimum. But like I promised, for those of you that enjoyed watching me clean up those larger lesions with those tendrils, we've got a couple more of those for you now. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We will see you all on the next one.